Welcome back to the Weeknight Mysteries podcast. Thank you for tuning into the podcast. My name is Yuras, and I am here with the co-host Rain.
Hello, everyone. Hello once again.
How are you?
Pretty okay. We're recording on a Friday, so I'm pretty happy that it's a Friday. We have the weekend.
Yeah, but we are kind of behind a couple of days trying to get back into it.
Yeah, definitely.
Ideally, this would be coming out on a Wednesday. That's the plan. Well, let's try to catch up then. Today we're going to be talking about a very interesting case. The case is coming from Brazil. It's the lead masks case. I assume you never heard about this one.
Definitely not. When you told me about it, I was like, where did you find this case?
Honestly, I can't even remember, but when I stumbled across this information, I was a little bit baffled because it's a bizarre case
And it's massive.
in Brazil.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty big thing in Brazil. In August of 1966, two Brazilian electronics technicians, Miguel José Viana and Manuel Pereira da Cruz, Miguel was 34 and Manuel was 32, they were found dead under mysterious circumstances on Vintém Hill near Niterói, Brazil. The case remains unsolved. Niterói is, I would say, maybe like a neighborhood of Rio de Janeiro. It's Rio is a massive city, and Niterói is kind of like connected to Rio.
Do you know if it's like somewhere in the outskirts?
No, it's still a city.
Oh, okay.
The men were dressed in formal suits and raincoats, and they wore lead masks with no eye holes. Honestly, we're gonna be looking at the images later. They don't really look like masks to me. It looks kind of strange. Nearby were unusual items. There was a bottle of mineral water, there was aluminium foil cups, two towels, a coded note, and a cryptic instruction. This all suggested that they were awaiting a signal after ingesting some sort of capsules. Earlier on that same day, they had traveled from Campos, which is the city that they resided in. It's kind of like, I believe, 4-hour trip to Niterói from Campos. They told their family members that they were actually heading to Sao Paulo, the biggest city in Brazil, but instead they went to Niterói, which is quite a bit closer than Sao Paulo. Sao Paulo would be even further away. Witnesses noted odd behavior because at one of the locations in Niterói, the two men acted calm and normal, but in the next establishment that he visited, they already have been anxious and seemed to be in a hurry. That evening, a woman and her children saw a bright orange object hovering above the hill where the two men's bodies were found. It was some sort of a strange, radiating blue light. The bodies were discovered days later by local boys. No cause of death was determined due to organ decomposition and limited toxicology resources at the time. No external injuries were present, and the case was marked by bizarre spiritual, chemical, and possibly paranormal elements. After investigating the case, detectives speculated on several theories. Some of the theories were that the men had some sort of a spiritual, psychedelic ritual that had gone wrong, which involved them ingesting capsules and wearing these strange lead masks. Other theory was that perhaps this was some sort of a espionage or contraband activity that went wrong because there were coded messages found next to the bodies, and the two men were experts in electronic devices. Also, murder, a potential murder setup has been theorized as well, possibly by someone that the two men trusted. And UFO or some sort of other supernatural involvement has also been thrown out there, given multiple reports of strange lights and beliefs in the interplanetary life. That there was a book found in one of the men's home, and it had some sort of a strange interplanetary text. The two men's friend, Elcio Gomez, back in Campos, was linked to an earlier explosion on Atafona Beach. This happened sometime before the two men died, and Atafona Beach is closer to where the two men lived. This man, Elcio, who was linked to that explosion, which apparently all of these people participated in some sort of a strange beach explosion, he gave inconsistent testimony about that night and other experiments that the group conducted. A noted spiritualist and alleged fraudster, Professor Ramayana, apparently this is a alleged spiritual fraudster from Brazil, also became a suspect because his initials matched a handkerchief found at the scene. And this man also used to live close to that hill, but no charges were filed.
Interesting.
Yeah, what do you think about all of this information?
Very strange. Honestly, when I first heard about this case and I did a little bit of research, I thought it was something kind of simpler, like less details, but as much as I delve into it, it's like the details kept on going and going and going. And it got a little bit confusing for me, to be honest.
Honestly, I have like a couple of cases that I would like to talk about in the upcoming podcast episodes, and to kind of like shift the podcast direction a little bit. And I was looking for a case that wouldn't take too much time to dissect. What? Because, we could quickly research this case and then move on to the other bigger topics that I want to cover on this podcast. And then this case on Wikipedia seemed kind of simple.
Yeah, it had a very short Wikipedia page, right?
Yeah, and it looked like, okay, we have a interesting little story coming out of Brazil, and probably not a lot to talk about, but then the more you start looking at it, the crazier this thing gets.
Yeah, and there was a WordPress site. You remember that, right?
There was a blogger.
Yeah, and
I think he's a Brazilian, most likely because of the information that this person has compiled.
It was so detailed.
It's astonishing. And
it's a rabbit hole, basically.
It's a humongous rabbit hole. But I would say that, we chose this case, we have to go through it.
And it's very interesting.
Honestly, it's one of the most bizarre things I've ever heard about. And I feel like this case is, in terms of its like mystery and the eeriness, what should be up there with, the likes of, I don't know, Hinterkaifeck murders, or Dyatlov Pass, or the disappearance of Lars Mittank and Brian Schaefer. I feel like this case is so
underrated,
underreported, at least in the Western media. But I bet it's big in Brazil.
I bet. I read somewhere that it's one of the one of the biggest cases, unsolved cases in Brazil.
In Brazil, yeah. Okay, let's talk about a case. The things occurred in 1966. So this is quite a bit back in the day. I wonder what Brazil was like back in the 60s. I mean, I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine what Brazil is today. So
I was supposed to say that, yeah.
Yeah, and the case is still unsolved. So at this point, it's been, it's like, if my math is correct, it's almost 60 years. Next year is going to be the 60-year anniversary of this case. So it's a very long time ago, but we still don't have any answers. Two friends, Miguel Jose Viana, who was 34, and we have some images of these people, so I think you could pull out the map. We could react to some images. We even have some crime scene or like, let's say, case scene pictures as well. And we also have Manuel. So Miguel and Manuel was 32 and Miguel was 34. They lived in a city called Campos dos Goitacazes. Oh man, I'm so sorry.
You probably butchered it so badly.
Do you see the notes?
Yes.
Can you try to do it?
Goitacazes. At least that's how it seems to me.
I feel like we should be referring it to Campos. Just Campos.
Yeah, so we wouldn't butcher it even further.
Yes. It's a city in the state of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, but it's on the edge of the state. So it's kind of like not really close to Rio itself. It's like a pretty long bus drive away to the city of Rio. The two men ran a small home-based TV repair shop, and they were running it out of one of the men's home, and they were well regarded in the community, especially for their expertise in electronics and television repair. Both of these men studied in Sao Paulo, the biggest city in Brazil, and one of the men even studied in the States, in Los Angeles, for some time. So these guys seemed like real experts at what they did.
Seems so, yeah.
Miguel was married to Elsa Gomez Viana, and Manuel was married to Nelly da Cruz. So they both were married men. On May 12th of 1966, Miguel, Manuel, and their friend Elcio, the same guy that I mentioned previously, they participated in some sort of a strange experiment on Atafona Beach. Remember that? What do you remember about that incident? Do you recall anything?
Nope.
So basically, there was apparently some sort of a crazy experiment that they did, at least when I was looking into the story, and there was some sort of a huge explosion. Because at around 9 p.m. in the evening, a massive explosion lit up the sky with a fireball reportedly heard for as far as 10 kilometers away, and witnesses felt the ground shake, and some nearby houses suffered minor damage. I went online and I took a look at this Atafona Beach, and it's actually a very interesting beach because it's, by the looks of it, it is experiencing a lot of corrosion damage because of rising sea level. You could maybe see the images, I'm not sure, but the homes are literally falling apart.
Oh yeah, I see what you mean.
These homes are falling apart because the coastline is shrinking as the ocean is expanding onto the beach. So it's a very interesting location, and this location is roughly 50 minutes away from Campos. So we're talking about this incident, which is not related necessarily to, how the two men eventually died, but this kind of gives us a interesting look at their life because they were doing some strange activities, let's put it that way.
I would even say that it's kind of like their experiments. It seems so.
Yeah, but why? What are these explosions? What are you trying to figure out? Random explosions on the beach?
I don't know, maybe not too random. Maybe it's somehow related to their expertise, because from the looks of it, it really looked like these two men were smart. Let's put it that way. And they knew what they're doing, at least in that field. And it seemed like they were just out there testing something. We will never know what or were, but it seemed like it for me so far.
So this explosion drew attention of the Brazilian Navy, which launched an investigation. Detective Walter Fernandez from Sao Paulo, the Barra police station, also heard the blast and felt the station building. Oh no, not Sao Paulo, sorry, Sao Paulo. Man.
Joao?
No.
Oh, wow? Joao? Joa with a little wiggle on top and O.
Somewhere close to Atafona Beach, this guy had his police station, okay? And he heard it. He heard the blast. He felt the station building tremble. He went to the scene and discovered a strong sulfur-like odor near a track in the sand, which was approximately 35 centimeters wide and 25 centimeters deep. That's 14 by 10 inches, resembling the marks of large tires. I don't know how to honestly explain any of this. Sometime prior to the explosion, one of the two men from the case, Miguel, had contacted a secret ham radio operator named Evaristo Fidelis de Moraes, who reportedly owned a powerful transmitter located about 300 meters or 1,000 feet from Atafona Beach. So basically what ham radio is, it's basically, as I understand, amateur radio, which is used by like amateur people who just kind of want to tinker around with like radio frequency spectrums for purposes of non-commercial exchange of messages, wireless experimentation, self-training, private recreation, radio sport, contesting, and emergency communications. You could tell I just ripped this straight from the Wikipedia.
No, thank you for explaining that part because to be honest, when I first read it, I thought of a different ham radio.
Yeah, I think I know what you were thinking about, but it's not.
Out of meat.
No, it's not that. In June of that same year, 66, a homemade artifact had exploded in the garden of Manuel's home, raising further questions about the strange and dangerous experiments the men may have been involved in. So,
But we don't know what those experiments were, right? And they never found out.
in my research, it was never mentioned. It was mentioned that there was just a bunch of explosions that these men were conducting. So one happened in May on the beach, then the next one happened in June the following month. We even have an image of Manuel's father standing next to the explosion site in his backyard from the looks of it.
Man, I wonder what they were trying to do.
Yeah, it seems like they're really just trying to creating a lot of explosions.
Or like experiments that went wrong.
So yeah, because this is mentioned as an artifact that had exploded. So what does that mean? It means that it wasn't supposed to explode?
It wasn't supposed to be a bomb from the sounds of it.
Yeah. Well, that's the precursor to the actual timeline of the death of the two men, because everything happened in the month of August, and we're now jumping to August 16th, 1966. In the middle of the night, Manuel woke his wife up and told her that him and Miguel, the two friends who are electricians, they will be traveling to Sao Paulo, the biggest city in Brazil, the next morning. And he explained that they want to purchase a used car and some electronic components for their shop. The logic was that they need a new or basically like a used car which works for work purposes. So he prepared a large sum of money for the trip, which was 2.3 million Brazilian cruzeiros. So this currency is no longer in use because Brazilian currencies have changed quite a lot over the years.
I love the name of the currency. It sounds...
Cruzeiro,
yeah.
right now it's the Brazilian real.
Mm-hmm. But Cruzeiro sounds so cool.
Yeah, but they were experiencing huge inflation. That's why everyone was carrying millions of that currency. Mm-hmm. So
do you know how much was the total amount of it in dollars?
So I tried to figure out, and I believe it was around $1,000. But
Massive.
but $1,000 in 1966, which could be up to, man, I hope I'm not gonna make a fool of myself, but I think it could be like 10 times more than what the dollar is today. So
That's a lot of money.
that could be 10,000 today's money. And when they were going to buy a used car, I assumed that this money was going to be used as a deposit. It wasn't going to be the full amount for the car.
Oh, come on, it's a used car. How much would it be?
I mean, honestly, $10,000 is basically a used car in its own. Like, that's it. Like, how much more would you need to pay? $10,000, you could get a good used car.
For some reason, I thought they were buying like some sort of like a raggedy, overly used car. You know what I mean? So they could just like take out all of the components and all the wirings and they could recycle it in their shop.
So they told their family, so they basically told their family that they're going to buy a used car. So I assume the idea is that they take the bus to Sao Paulo, they buy it there, and then they drive back to Campos.
I think so.
That sounds
That sounds logical.
reasonable. So the next morning on August 17 at 9 a.m., Miguel and Manuel, they headed towards the local bus station. At the bus station, they met the friend that I've been talking about, Elcio. Elcio did not join them, but he said that he spoke to the two men before they boarded the bus, and he just went back home, and the two men went on their way. So what actually happened is that the two men, they didn't go to Sao Paulo. Instead, they purchased tickets to go to Niterói. And now this raises a huge question in my brain. Did Elcio knew that the two men were actually going to Niterói? Because I don't know how buses work in Brazil in 1966, but buses nowadays, where we live, they have like indication where they're going. There's usually like this electronic board on the bus which will say like to which city is going.
I'm assuming it would be the same thing. Instead of the sign being electronic, it will be probably like just a signage.
Yeah, so this raises a question. Could Elcio have known that the two men are actually going to Niterói?
That, I don't know how to answer. We don't really have any other information from Elcio, right?
Well, Elcio later said that he was certain that they were going to Sao Paulo.
Oh, okay, I'm with the guy.
So at around 2 p.m. on that same day, the two men arrived in Niterói, and it was raining heavily. Shortly after their arrival, they visited an electronics store called Fullscope, located at 13 Alberto Witter Street. At the store, they spoke with the store's owner, Hermani Teixeira da Carvalho Filho. So let's just say Hermani. Hermani had met the two men 4 days earlier in Campos, their hometown. When Hermani met the two men, Manuel showed him a magazine advertisement for an AM/FM frequency generator valued at over 1 million cruzeiros. So I guess all of these, guys are just electronic wizards. They're just that's their thing, to talk about electronics, right?
Yeah.
So Miguel and Manuel, they asked Hermani at his store if he had some Philips components, for like Philips, the brand Philips Electronics. But Hermani told them that he had none in stock, and also Hermani said something along the lines that he found it strange that the two men even asked him about the Philips components, because apparently it's understood that Niterói doesn't get any Philips components, but I think it's a red herring. So the two men, and this is where it gets interesting, the two men invited Hermani to accompany them to Sao Paulo, to search for the items, but he declined. And two other witnesses at that store, an employee and the taxi driver, observed this conversation. So this is strange because the first place the two men go to in Niterói, they go to Hermione, to his electronics store, and they tell him, do you want to join us? We're going to Sao Paulo. So according to Hermione, the two men definitely had intentions to go to Sao Paulo, but they never went there. So don't you find it kind of interesting?
No, not necessarily. I'm always assuming that wherever they were found, it was an experiment gone wrong. Like, probably too early to say, but I'm trying to say that it was in their plan to go to Sao Paulo after.
After whatever happened badly.
Yeah.
Okay.
After the event, basically.
Fair enough. The two men at 2:45 p.m. headed to Casa Brasilia, a plastics and rubber store located at 69 Coronel Gomez Machado Street, where they purchased two raincoats for around $6 each, so, like maybe $60 today money. Despite the heavy rain, they did not put on the raincoats as they left the store. So it's kind of strange why they got these raincoats. Police would later note that both men appeared calm during this visit previously in full scope with Hermione, but seemed anxious and in a hurry at Casa Brasilia, the place where they bought the raincoats, leading to speculation that they may have encountered someone in between the two stores. That's a possibility. And why would they be buying raincoats? I feel like this purchase is already out of the plan. I mean, it was raining heavily. They were found with raincoats on. So when they were laying down on the hill where they died, I think maybe they expected to lay there for a while. That's why they bought the raincoats. Does that make sense? Yeah, obviously. Why else would you buy a raincoat? 15 minutes later at 3:15 p.m., Miguel and Manuel visited a bar at 172 Marquês de Parana Avenue near the base of Vintém Hill, the same hill where their bodies were found later. They ordered a bottle of mineral water and they said it should be very cold, and they were served by Maria de Lourdes Sarrelvas. Man, I'm sorry for like
butchering all the names. It's all good. We understand.
Yeah, this is so difficult sometimes. Despite appearing rushed, the two men waited for a receipt, which would allow them to return the empty bottle later for a small refund. Okay, so it's kind of cool that, in Brazil in the 60s, they were doing that
Deposit thing.
Deposit thing, right? In addition, the owners of the bar where they bought mineral water said that Miguel looked at his watch constantly and he seemed in a hurry. So whatever was happening, by the time they got to the bar, they were already rushing. After leaving the bar, they walked towards the Andrade Pinto Street, which leads directly to the base of Vintém Hill. And they reached the end of Andrade Pinto Street and began ascending one of the trails that led up to Vintém Hill. We have an image of the hill where the two men have been found on top of it. Yeah, this is apparently the trail leading up to the hill. Can you describe it? I mean, I know the image is kind of really...
I don't understand anything.
No, I think you should be... Yeah, you should be looking at vertically.
I still don't know what I'm looking at.
Me neither, honestly.
Oh, wait. It seems like there's a little bit of a trail.
But it's kind of really rough looking.
Yeah.
It almost looked like a landslide.
That's true. Really raggedy. And there seems like a lot of electrical wires from the picture, but it's probably not related to the hill, but it seemed like I don't even know how to describe it properly.
I would just say it's a rough path to the top of the hill.
Yeah, definitely.
So Miguel and Manuel, they possibly reached the top at around 4:30 p.m. We think that they reached it at around 4:30 p.m. because of strange notes that were found around them. I'll get into it in a little bit. And it's believed that they arrived at the summit of Vintém Hill. And before we jump into what happened next, I would like to also bring up the other speculated stops that the two men may have encountered on the way from the bus station in Niterói to the Vintém Hill. Because there is some time gaps, unaccounted time gaps, like just minutes, not like hours or anything like that, in their day. And there are two very interesting locations, kind of very close to the route that they would have taken, from the bus stop to the hill, alongside visiting all of these other, like stores and the bar. One of them, and this would be the first location, this is literally, I think, this is the location that maybe they would visit between Volskop and the place where they bought the raincoats, because that's where the discrepancies were seen. Noticed because, in Volskop they were chill. And in the raincoat store...
That's when the weirdness started, or at least the rush.
Yeah. So in between these two places, they may have stopped at SEPE.
SEPE?
Society for Studies and Research in Spiritism. There's a location like that in...
So this is just rumored, right? It's not confirmed.
It's not confirmed. It's rumored because of, the background, because of the weird experiments that they have been doing, and now there's this weird research facility. And another facility is Federcao Espírita do Estado do Rio de Janeiro, which is basically Spirit Federation of Rio de Janeiro. And these are the two notable locations. And given the stuff that we know so far, do you think that there is a chance that they may have ventured in?
I don't know, it seems contradicting to what we know so far about them. They seem to be very into, I would say, science and experiments and all of that on that side, and going to a spiritual-ish place, it seems a little bit ironic.
I will run a little bit here before we I was gonna mention this later, but I will say that they were into spiritism.
Really?
And we will uncover this in a little bit.
Okay.
But they were kind of into this type of stuff.
I didn't know that.
So now it makes it more plausible.
Yes, definitely. It makes it even weirder, actually. Like explosions and spirits.
Strange lights.
Strange lights, yeah. And then the manner in which they were found.
So speaking about strange lights, 2.5 hours after the men reached the top of the mountain, at around 7 p.m., a woman by the name of Gracinda Barbosa Coutinho, she was driving along the Sao Bonaventura Street, which is very close to the hill. She was driving with her 3 children in the car. At 7 p.m., it's already getting dark, because, Brazil, 7 p.m., it's probably dark. They stopped the car because they spotted something unusual in the sky. The lady described that she saw a bright object, oval-shaped, with orange light, with a ring of fire around it, emanating blue rays in all directions.
What?
And it moved up and down above Vintém Hill, the same location where the two men were found dead. And it was visible for about 4 minutes.
That's really strange.
I have no explanation.
But then again, I wouldn't really be surprised if it was related to them, mainly because they caused a bunch of different explosions way before their death.
So the next morning, August 18, there was a young boy who was hunting small animals on top of the Vintém Hill. He discovered the two men laying on the ground. He wasn't certain if they were asleep or dead, but he was spooked out. He ran away and informed the local policeman, Antonio de Castro. Antonio did not take the report seriously, and he did nothing. He just thought that, maybe, some bums are on top of the hill sleeping, whatever.
Sleeping? Come on. That's not an ordinary explosion.
Well, he didn't know about the lights yet.
True.
2 days later, on August 20th, in the afternoon, another boy climbed the hill to retrieve a kite which was stuck in the tree. He saw the bodies, and upon returning to town later that same day, he contacted the police. However, this time, Officer Oscar Nunes, he believed in the boy, but due to poor weather and the late hour, he decided not to investigate until the next day.
Okay. I'm not really sure if that was acceptable.
According to the protocol, but like he said...
But maybe the weather was definitely bad? I don't know.
Yeah. So the next morning, on the 21st, this is already 4 days into the men's presumed death.
What?
Yeah, 4 days it took for people to start getting up there.
I wonder if their spouses, what were they doing in those 4 days? Were they looking for them or something?
Oh, I would say so.
Or caused some, I don't know, went to the police, asked about him?
I would say so. They probably did.
It's just a little too far away. But then again, oh wait, no. They didn't know they were going to Niterói. Yeah,
but Sao Paulo shouldn't take 4 days. It's not that far away.
Yeah, no. I'm just thinking that maybe even if they went to the local police, then the local police would have tried to contact the Sao Paulo police. It's completely skipped Niterói.
Exactly. They couldn't connect the dots.
Okay, go ahead.
So by that time, August 21st morning, police, firefighters, reporters, and civilians, they all climbed Vintém Hill. Due to the difficult terrain and bad weather, it took over 2 hours to reach this location. So maybe it was really seriously difficult to get up there. After clearing roughly 10 square meters in size at the top of the hill, they found the bodies of Miguel and Manuel. They were dressed in matching formal suits and raincoats. Both were easily identified because they had personal identification on them. Blood was visible around their mouth and the noses. The bodies laid on a bed of pindoba palm leaves, some of which also showed bloodstains. These leaves can only be cut with a knife because they're very sturdy, but no knife was found, which I guess leads us to believe that a third party was with them who had a knife but then walked away. Strange.
Really strange.
We have images. I'm not gonna be showing this on the YouTube. Well, I'm gonna be showing some of it, but not all of it. Do you see the image on the with the men laying down?
Yes.
And do you see the image of the lead masks? What do you think about the lead masks?
So imagine a metal sheet, and with like a thick metal scissor, you try to cut a sunglasses shaped thingy.
Like a very hipster sunglasses.
Like a Ray-Ban, yeah. But then once it's already been cut, it looks amateur-ish. That's what it looks like.
But this is not...
I don't even know how to put it on. How did they put it on? It's so flat. It's literally like a kid drew it on paper.
Yeah, I think they just put it on top of their nose and that's it.
That's it?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And
it was on top of their faces when they were found, right?
Yeah, but why would they even have this thing on? There is no practical use of this type of a mask ever. Because you can't see.
I know that lead masks are used for like radiation, but I'm not even sure what they look like nowadays. 1 second.
Not like this. I know.
Definitely not.
I know how they look like. There's like goggles. So you could actually see what you're doing. Unlike with this strange lead mask.
Contraption.
Yeah. You're trying to find how the proper radiation masks look like?
Is it like this? Like with mirror?
Yeah,
No, with glass cement?
Yeah, but even...
Oh wait, no, like this one.
You're
probably.
showing this old school, yeah, or I don't know, man. So,
Okay,
something
I'm showing something like...
pretty strange, honestly.
Yeah, really strange. I don't even... Oh, okay, I think I found one.
Yeah, but this looks old school, what you're showing.
Yeah, because the case is like in 1960s.
Ah, good point.
I'm trying to find what it looks like back then.
Regardless, doesn't look like what they actually had on their
It
faces.
looks very amateur.
So
Maybe they did it themselves.
Oh yeah, they definitely did.
Maybe it was homemade.
It
DIY.
It was.
Okay.
So there were other items found at the scene. There was a nearly empty bottle of mineral water. So it seems like they had drank some of the water. There was improvised aluminium foil cups. There was a package containing 2 towels. There was a wedding ring tied to reading glasses inside of Miguel's jacket. So I think it was his own wedding ring, which he put in his jacket. There was a wristwatch stored in Miguel's pants pocket. There was 157,000 cruzeros in a plastic bag inside of Miguel's pants and 4,000 cruzeros in Manuel's jacket. Now it's interesting because they brought way more money with themselves on this trip, which has never been accounted for. So we don't know what happened to the big chunk of money that they really were bringing on this trip. There was a folded unused handkerchief with the initials AMS, which didn't match up any of the men's names. There was a receipt for the water bottle that he purchased at the bar. There were matches and cigarettes inside of Miguel's jacket. There were 2 unused bus tickets from Niterói to Campos. So it seems like they had bus tickets going back to Campos. So it seems like they did intend to go back on that same day. There were square pieces of cellophane with an unknown substance. There was a newspaper dated August 17, the day when they died. There were 2 lead masks. There was a handwritten note with electronic equations, a coded note with letters and numbers. There was a note containing a list of instructions found in Miguel's pocket, another note with medication instructions, and the third dirty note with the word bonsai.
Like bonsai, the tree? The plant? Bonsai. What does that mean?
I don't know. Maybe. So, one of the notes that was found, it had instructions. This is the most interesting, I guess, of the notes. And it says 4:30, be at specified place. 6:30, ingest capsules after the effect, protect metals, wait for signal mask. So there was no punctuation in the notes, so it's kind of hard to say what it actually meant, but I think it's like widely considered that what it means is that they're supposed to be there at 4:30. That's why we think that they reached the top of the hill at 4:30. By 6:30, they are supposed to drink the capsules, and after the effect, they should protect their metals, like the metal belongings, and wait for the signal, and maybe then put on the mask, something like that. So it's kind of interesting because remember there was this woman who reported strange lights in the sky. She reported them at 7.
Ooh.
So this was
right on time.
So this was
during the schedule, I guess.
Sorta, right during the schedule. So the discovery of the wristwatch and the wedding ring stored inside of clothing may be linked to the protect metals note. There was another note with details about capsule ingestion over several days, and it started on Sunday, 1 capsule after a meal.
What?
Monday, 1 capsule in the morning while fasting. Tuesday, 1 capsule after a meal, and Wednesday, 1 capsule when lying down. So if these men were following this schedule, that means that they had already been ingesting these capsules 4 days before their death. Bizarre.
I wonder what kind of capsules were those, and where did they get them from?
Yeah, it was never explained. So the investigation started. The investigation was led by Police Chief Jose Venancio Bittencourt. The men's bodies were transported to the coroner's office in Niterói, but the office was overwhelmed because it just had recently had the body of a murdered officer, Hilton Magalhães, there. So obviously the priority went to the murdered police officer.
Of course. And
an assistant of the coroner, not the official coroner, performed the autopsy preparation for the 2 men, and no signs of violence or trauma were reported on their bodies. On August 24th, so this is roughly a week into the men's death, Miguel and Manuel were buried at the Caju Cemetery in Campos. A reporter visiting the coroner's office learned that the initial organs were discarded without proper testing due to deterioration. Oh man, I can't even say that word right now.
It's all good.
Deterioration.
Yeah.
Close enough.
Close enough.
A lack of regnants.
Pregnancy? Pregnancy?
No, regants.
Okay, I don't even know what that word is.
Let's proceed. The police questioned Carlos and Luisa de Vasconcelos. So these were two people, a couple. Okay, they were questioned in connection to the murders. Sorry, not the murders, but the death of the two men, because this couple, Carlos and Luisa, they were living 200 meters from the crime scene. And honestly, I do not understand how they did not report the two men. 200 meters is very close.
How close is it? 200 meters. You could probably see it, like whatever they're doing, you could see it from your window, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of strange. So obviously they were questioned. The two claimed to be overseeing renovations for the property because the property was owned by another person. Inside of the house, police found numerous religious images. Carlos denied involvement in spiritism because, at that point they were thinking that spiritism could have been connected to the two men's death, and they found a lot of religious images in Carlos and Luisa residence.
But isn't that normal?
I would say that's normal.
Like, it's nothing to bat an eye on to have a bunch of religious stuff at your place.
And Brazil is very religious.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, even here, like, some grandmas would have a bunch of those, and I don't think it's anything odd at all. I think it's a matter of personal preference.
I agree. Police revisited the mountain or the hill, and they also found a 30 centimeter or 1 foot cement marker, which was possibly used as a rendezvous point. So this location could have been pre-selected in advance. By August 25th, the following day, police chief developed an allergic reaction, red spots, after handling the lead masks with journalists and officers. So makes me question what was on those masks. Maybe some sort of a substance.
Yeah.
The following day, another expert, coroner Dr. Alberto Farah, was asked to evaluate the case to kind of like try to understand the cause of death. But after looking at the case, because the two men were buried at that point and the organs weren't preserved, Dr. Alberto Farah said that it's impossible to determine the cause of death at that point.
It's just a shame that they didn't manage to conduct a proper autopsy because...
But yeah, to me it feels like it's probably something like drug related. Just the way I would guess. What do you think?
I would go with you on that, yes.
The next day, on 27th of August, police interrogated Elcio. Remember Elcio? The guy who...
The third guy, basically, the friend.
Yeah, the friend. And, he testified and he said, "I was close to both of them. Miguel was my friend. Manuel was going through a tough time morally. And we tried..."
What does that mean?
Like mentally.
Okay.
"And we tried to help him through spiritism. I brought him to a few sessions. When I said goodbye to them at the bus station, I thought they were headed to Sao Paulo. I know nothing after that."
Spiritism, what does that mean?
So apparently, I'm not even sure, but Elcio apparently was a guy who was... Basically, he was somehow involved in spiritism, and Miguel and Manuel, they would go to him for advice.
Yeah, but what does that mean? Like, religion? Do they believe in another world? Spirits coexist with us?
I think it's connected to religion.
Aliens?
It's connected to religion. And there were some new developments that happened 2 weeks after the men's death. Basically, in Campos, police searched the home of Evaristo Fidelis de Moraes, who was contacted by Miguel before the Atafona beach explosion, remember? I think several months before the two men died, there was this Atafona Beach explosion.
Yes.
And one of the men contacted this Evaristo person. And when police, searched his residence, they recovered an antenna, but the transmitter had been sold by then. So nothing came of that lead, but yeah, just some strange side information that is kind of hard to kind of digest here. Apparently, yeah, sorry.
Do you think they were trying to... It seems like they were very into radio, and because you mentioned something about the ham radio, I remember that, and now antenna and transmitters. Do you think they were trying to contact someone using the radio? Could be someone from the other side of the world, someone with us.
Aliens, you mean?
Aliens, or maybe someone deceased already. I don't know, something.
I think there's a possibility. Maybe they were trying to contact aliens.
Who knows?
LCO on September 2nd, so this is, roughly maybe 2, almost 3 weeks into the man's death, LCO provided an alibi. For August 17th, he had the receipt from a car shop in Campos. So he was basically at Campos, and neighbors confirmed that they had seen him working on the car on that day. So I guess at some point they were thinking, did Alicio go with them to Niterói? But apparently he didn't. He had an alibi. Also in September, Miguel Viana, who was the new investigator for the case, he was browsing Miguel's shop and he found a notebook from which one of the notes found with the bodies appeared to have been torn from. So basically, you remember there were a bunch of strange notes kind of close to the men's bodies. So this note came from a notebook which was found in Miguel's shop. So Miguel wrote those notes himself and then tore it out and then took that note with him to Niterói. But the instructions are so simple that makes me question, why would you even take it in the first place? Because the instruction is literally get to the location at
the time though
4:30 and 6:30.
The time, and maybe they had this grandiose plan and there were two of them. I would do the same thing, honestly. I can see myself doing the same thing.
Honestly,
because I do it. I do it right now anyways.
Yeah, I mean, you could forget the time, honestly. So I don't. And then remember, one of the men were agitated at the bar, kept looking at the watch. So maybe that's somehow connected as well.
Potentially, yeah. If they had this some sort of grandiose plan and they had to be exactly on time, honestly, I could see myself writing things down if I don't have my phone with me.
And then taking the note out.
Yeah, imagine this was pre-phones.
Wouldn't you take the notebook?
No, if I just wanted, if it's not really...
It's like a sticky note.
Yeah, it's like a sticky note,
okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, it makes sense. So this is where things kind of got shaky with LCO, because LCO had changed his story a few times about the Atafona Beach explosion, remember? Apparently he was also part of it. So at this point, LCO was now claiming that Miguel and Manuel masterminded the Atafona experiment and invited him as a spectator. So basically he was telling police that the two men, they were the ones behind the Atafona Beach explosion, and LCO was just kind of tagging along. However, there was a third man, Valdir Cardoso. He was another co-worker of Miguel and Manuel. He was actually working with them in the shop, and he accused LCO of lying. According to Valdir, LCO was the one who invited all of them to Atafona Beach to witness something supernatural, and after they all arrived, a red-purple light descended from the sky. LCO panicked, yelling for them to flee. Apparently it was something like they all arrived at the beach and LCO went kind of further along the beach. Then he came running back and said, we have to get out of here because bad things will happen now.
Okay, that's crazy.
Valdir smelled sulfur at the beach but didn't hear an explosion. He also recalls Elcio claiming to incorporate spirits. So Elcio, according to Valdir, another co-worker of Miguel and Manuel, Valdir said that Elcio was claiming that he could incorporate spirits, meaning that he could let spirits talk through him. And he had a couple of different spirits that would regularly talk through him. One of them was Dr. Paulo, and another one was Dr. Samuel. And Miguel and Manuel, they were frequently seeking spiritual guidance from Elcio, and specifically from the doctors that would talk through Elcio, because one of the men suffered from asthma.
Asthma?
Yeah.
That's nothing. I have it, but doesn't really.
Another man
What?
suffered from chronic abdominal pain.
Oh, no, that's different.
And so they would ask Elcio for him to bring out Dr. Polo and Dr. Samuel. And apparently Dr. Polo and Dr. Samuel would give great advice to Miguel and Manuel.
Okay, now this part I don't understand. Why not just go to like a living, breathing doctor by then? Why do you have to go through a guy who could contact deceased doctors? And it seems like a lot of work.
Yeah.
It feels like going to a real, actual, alive doctor is like way more straightforward than whatever happened with Elcio.
Maybe not. Maybe if the doctor is like far away.
Oh, come on. Are you telling me they didn't have any doctors
But maybe
Campos?
maybe they thought that
Like, oh, let me just talk to this guy who could apparently contact a doctor from another universe and I'll follow the dead doctor's instructions. So weird.
it's definitely unorthodox, let's put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather just pay for a private clinic.
So police uncovered that Miguel and Manuel had conducted other experiments as well in other places.
Okay, wait. Stop. I'm not done yet. I just realized one thing.
Yeah, sure.
You meant to say that these two men. I'm sorry, I got a little bit aggressive there. These two men withdrew 10,000-ish USD converted to
Yes.
US dollars, and you're telling me that they have that enough money, but they would rather go to a guy who could communicate with dead doctors instead of paying for a private clinic or pay to go to, I don't know, to drive to Sao Paulo if they didn't have any like actual living doctors over there?
I think maybe it's not necessarily that they never went to the real doctor. Maybe they went to the real doctor, but it wasn't necessarily helping them as much.
Come on.
And LCO may have triggered, like I'm kind of very suspicious if he was really triggering, like spiritual doctors through him. But one way or another, I think he was maybe like giving them some tips and tricks on top of like their official doctor visits. I would assume so. I don't think they just completely relied on LCO. We don't know that.
Okay, but what about the explosions on the beach? How would you explain that? Like, there's no way Elcio, the spiritual guy with like two doctors inside of him speaking through him, managed to somehow
create the explosion all by himself?
Yes, with like some sort of different lights and all.
Yeah, that
and
is
massive enough that the authorities.
That is true, because that would mean that Elcio was able to conduct the explosion all by himself, And how would he even set it up? Because apparently he just went to the beach for a short period of time and then came back.
Maybe he attracted thunder and lightning. I don't know.
Realistically, I think maybe he had some sort of a device or something. Some sort of an explosion.
Yeah, there's no way. Or maybe he's an entity. I don't know.
So Manuel's wife, Nellie, she confirmed that the men made the lead masks themselves using pipe material at home the day before the trip. The holes in the masks matched cut lead pieces found in a bucket at the house. And August 12, which was several days before the two men have died, the two men's neighbor, or the neighbor of one of the two men, Fernando Jose, found them crafting the masks. And he approached them and he said, "Guys, why are you making these masks?" And the men replied, "We're building something to prevent the end of the world in 1968, when a great cyclone will devastate much of Earth." It's getting crazy.
I don't know what to say anymore. Yeah, I really don't know what to say anymore. It's kind of like delusional.
It feels like they were going through some sort of a spiritual delusion at that point.
Definitely.
And basically, there was several theories that came out as possible explanations to what has happened to the two men.
Please hit me with it.
So one of them is self-harm pact, which was immediately considered unlikely due to lack of motive, missing money, and the presence of a receipt, and I think also the bus tickets back. So I also will say that it doesn't look like the two men died intentionally. What do you think?
I would agree with you on that one. Okay, all of the information that you unleashed at the very end of this podcast kind of, I don't know, blew my mind, and I was like just on the corner holding my head like what's happening. But I do agree on one thing. I do not think it was intentional. I do think they had a plan and they were hoping to go back on the same day. That's what I think.
Another theory was that this was somehow linked to espionage, that they were like skilled electronics experts. They had some strange codes, and the location was remote but kind of good for possible like radio communications on that hill. But to me, it doesn't look like espionage. It's clearly not that.
I don't think so.
What do you just think? I don't think it's espionage.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Another theory, and this was interesting, a possible some sort of a criminal contraband connection, because there was a newspaper from August 17 found next to the bodies, right? And on the scene, on the newspaper, there was a reference of a smuggling ring, like a contraband ring, like a enterprise. And I believe it was mentioned that it was operated by 5 men, and 3 of the men were caught.
Okay.
But 2 weren't. So it was put out there that maybe
it was them.
Yeah, maybe Miguel and Manuel were the other 2 men. But I don't buy it. For me, it just feels like they were 2 electronic experts from Campos, and that's it.
To be honest, if they were actually contacting, who's that guy again? The spiritual delusional guy?
Elcio.
If they were contacting Elcio for their health problems, I don't think they're like involved in something like way more complex or way bigger. Maybe they were, I don't know.
And then The last two theories for me are probably one of them. So obviously the first one would be that it was a spiritual experiment gone wrong, and I kind of feel like this is the most likely one. What do you think?
I would go for the failed experiment route, but I do agree with you that this is also one of the bigger possibilities. Most likely.
But the one that really is jumping out to me is the possible robbery trap theory.
Ooh.
Because the money was never found.
Okay.
And there's a theory going on that maybe the two men, as they were in Niterói, they went to one of the spiritual centers. And people in the spiritual center, they knew that the men were carrying a large amount of money. So maybe they were criminals and they wanted to get a hold of that money, so they told them to go on top of the hill to perform some spiritual, I don't know,
Activity.
And since the two men were already seeking LCO for health advice, I wouldn't put it past them to go conduct this activity that was told to them. But maybe the criminals from the spiritual center, if they were criminals, they went up there, mugged them, gave them drugs that will make them kill themselves without knowing, and then took their money.
But what's up with the masks though?
That's true, they had the masks by themselves. So do you think that the two men, they had this, by the sound of it, they had this exact plan?
It seems like it, yeah.
It seems to me that they had this exact plan as well. And another way to explain how the money was lost was that, there were already like kids.
That's true. That's what I was
running
thinking.
around, so maybe one of the kids, took the money.
Not even kids. So what if an adult already found them there? Oh, it's like, a lot of money.
Took the money and just went, yeah.
It's just a hill.
It's just a hill, yeah. So overall, I would say that to me, this feels like two really smart electronic experts were kind of getting more and more involved in this really strange spiritual activities, performing experiments, and it just really seems like it ended really badly for them. And I think they probably wanted to go back home, but they couldn't because they died because of a failed experiment.
I agree with you on that, because it seemed like even prior their deaths, they were already tinkering with something.
Kind of like spiraling.
Yeah.
Spiraling towards crazier and crazier experiments. And this was it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I do think it might be the pill that they took.
Yeah.
Because since there are no other like trauma or...
And by the sound of it, they were probably keeping this away from their families.
Definitely, I agree with you.
So I think maybe they never even intended to go to Sao Paulo. To me, it feels like they just went to Niterói to do this experiment.
But why carry a large amount of money with them though?
And where the money was gone. Well, the money I think we could explain potentially. The
if
money.
Kids could go up the hill.
Yeah, someone probably got there and took the money. I could believe that. Why take the large amount of money there?
In the first place. They could just say, I don't know.
Maybe
we'll check out the cars first.
Maybe it was part of the... Maybe
they were planning to go to Sao Paulo and actually buy a car.
Later on in the day after the experiment. Yeah, I could see that happening. Because they even said to the Hermione that he should tag along to Sao Paulo. So maybe that's how we would explain it.
Yeah, I do think that the whole thing is an experiment gone wrong, mainly because of the masks and the raincoats. I do think they brought it with them for some sort of radiation protection. I don't know. It's just my personal opinion. And I do think whatever they took, maybe they overdosed in it. Mainly because there were no other wounds or trauma that was found. And they were bleeding. They bled from their noses, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it seems like it was something internally that poisoned them or killed them.
I have to agree with that. I definitely agree with that. And still a very strange case that I've never heard about.
Very strange, because if it was indeed a failed experiment, how come the experiment itself was never found? Just the bodies. Like, did they bring a gun or a bomb in there? Like, what caused the lights?
That's a good question.
And how come nothing was ever found? How come just the bodies were found? Where is the actual experiment if it was indeed a failed experiment? Or maybe it was a spiritual experiment. Like they are planning to take that pill for an out-of-body experience, maybe.
I feel like they maybe triggered the lights somehow themselves and then put on the masks and took the pill.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I feel like that's what happened.
But where is the actual... What caused the light? And how come nobody ever found anything on that scene?
Yeah, that's all a really good question.
Unless it exploded. But once again, where are the marks?
Yeah, that's a good point. From my research, it was never mentioned. So, yeah. Regardless, I would say it's a good time to wrap up the podcast.
Definitely. A very good one. Thank you for discovering this one and for doing the research.
Yeah, of course. Leave your thoughts in the comment section, guys, and then we will join you on the next podcast episode. Stay safe, and we will catch you later.
See you very soon.
Bye.
Bye.